So sorry it's been a minute since we've posted one of these retro reviews. It's been about a month since it's been just Tomas and I in the room here, but I mean, this seems out of season, but we've hit another WrestleMania in this retro, and WrestleMania 21, before we attended a WrestleMania Goes Hollywood, 18 years prior, WWE descended upon the Staples Center. It sold out that building in record time. This is why you don't do, like, only 20,000 people in the building. I don't think this is the highest grossing Mania of all time, surely.
No, this would be one of the
in
last
arenas
two
anymore.
times. Yeah, one of the last two times WWE would run arenas for WrestleMania. But it would just be standard from here on out. So this is one of the last two WrestleManias that's going to be in an arena. And how weird is it to go back and see WrestleMania not in front of 80,000 people?
It's bizarre, but you know what? With the pageantry, it still felt like WrestleMania. Still had the amazing set with the billboard on the outside and the ramp in the shape of a Hollywood star, like they're on the Walk of Fame. And we would be remiss if we were to do a whole review of WrestleMania 21 without at least talking about the trailers. Like, there's so freaking many of these, and this is like the best hype up, like commercial wise, to a WrestleMania I think of all time. Wow.
I remember these as a kid, and I remember getting so excited for each new one. You know, you're the movie buff, so you're going to get all the obvious references, but we had The Undertaker as Dirty Harry. We had Eugene as Forrest Gump, which I'm sure was your favorite. We had Booker T and Eddie Guerrero in Pulp Fiction. We had Stone Cold Steve Austin in Gladiator. These were so cool, so well thought put out. And I remember when the Dirty Harry one specifically came out, my dad knew that scene word for word, so he knew exactly. And I didn't know Dirty Harry. I'm like, I'm like, 10, 11 years old at this point. I don't know any of these references other than like Forrest Gump. So to see all these were so cool. And I know you said this came out prior to Mania, but I specifically remember not seeing the Stone Cold Gladiator one until WrestleMania. So seeing that before, it made me feel like, oh, this is like a cool exclusive one you get just for getting the pay-per-view. I know I was wrong there, but that one, again, I did not see the Gladiator one until WrestleMania came on my screen.
I mean, like, there's so many that we aren't even naming off. There was one where Benoit, Jericho, and Christian were interrogating Stacy Keibler a la Basic Instinct.
That one, jokes right over my head. And then I watched it again as an adult. I'm like, that's freaking hilarious. And Christian Cage stole the show in that one.
Oh, Christian was so funny in that one. Triple H painting up his face to do Braveheart, talking about WrestleMania on horseback, talking about how he's 7 feet tall. I've slayed the biggest of giants.
And then he thinks he's, here's the thing. Me and my brother didn't get the reference. So when he did that whole speech, and the funny part was when they panned out, nobody was there, and it was just Ric Flair with the donkey. My brother got all upset. It's like, oh, all the wrestlers should have been there cheering him on. I'm like, you don't get the joke.
Well, all the wrestlers would eventually get into that taxi driver commercial that was everybody's favorite. You had Carlito, like, chewing the apple before he delivered the line. Batista not knowing what his line is before he ever became a big Hollywood star, and Big Show constantly fucking takes up. Like, it was
or not even his fault. Like, in one take, his shirt would tear, his jacket would tear. One take, the microphone dropped on his head, and finally at the end, when he's going to get the line, they cut him off. Everybody's favorite moment isn't even one of those gags. It's Michael Cole showing up out of nowhere and saying, I'm the only one here. That one broke everybody.
Yeah. Oh, I freaking love it. I love it. And then Tajiri delivering the line in Japanese, too, was a great touch.
And we can't exclude Kurt Angle and Christy Hemme parodying When Harry Met Sally.
Yes.
With the awesome Mae Young cameo at the end. Those were all great.
It was Mae Young, wasn't it?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that WWE has all of their production value now and so much more money, and so many years have gone by with so many more movie references, and they just dropped the ball this year with the movie trailers. Like, I didn't.
They were good.
Was funny.
They were good. Yeah, I like the Bloodline one, but like in terms of WrestleMania Goes Hollywood trailers, these ones are untouchable. Like, I'm sure they're all on YouTube somewhere. I would highly recommend checking out the Stone Cold Gladiator one, which did open up WrestleMania after Lillian Garcia sings America the Beautiful quite wonderfully, might I add. And I definitely recommend checking out the Pulp Fiction one, which is really funny. Obvious Booker T and Eddie Guerrero partnership. They're all really funny, man. Eugene punching out a girl on the bus stop bench as well at the end of the Forrest Gump one, talking about his favorite WrestleMania moments and getting to the Mike Tyson punch on Shawn Michaels rather.
I think the Pulp Fiction one was my favorite because Booker T's Samuel L. Jackson impression was pretty damn good, and how he would interject like his "and can you dig that sucker?" and then at the end, Eddie Guerrero accidentally shooting the guy with the gun. That one's great. They are all great. I don't think there's a single one they did in 2005 that wasn't good.
The only thing missing from the Pulp Fiction one in hindsight was Booker T eating a cheeseburger. This is a tasty burger.
Exactly. Yeah.
Eddie, have you ever had a Kahuna burger before, sucker?
Shit, they could have done like a whole movie parody with all of these. They were great, but it's WrestleMania 21. WrestleMania goes Hollywood, and this is the culmination of a lot, or the beginning of one, but a culmination of a lot of storylines that have been going on for the latter part of the year. The Batista and Triple H feud. We're getting near the end of JBL's historic WWE Championship run. Feud that started at the Royal Rumble. And then with the exception of Taker and Orton and Mysterio and Eddie, those ones are the ones that are like, they're really starting to pick up steam, or it's really the beginning of these feuds. This is one of my favorite WrestleManias of all time. Let me get that out of the way right now. The storytelling, just, we had the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. Angle and Michaels is absolutely incredible that we'll get to. The main event is pretty good. We had a solid opener. Taker and Orton is severely underrated.
It's criminally underrated. Like, goodness gracious.
Storytelling and what this feud is going to end up going. It's going to go for like the rest of the year. This is like almost a year-long feud between these two guys. And then Eddie and Ray are about to kick off probably the best rivalry of 2005, barring Triple H and Batista.
Funny you mentioned Eddie and Ray, because they actually do open up this pay-per-view, and we started off hot and heavy. Eddie Guerrero makes his entrance to a humongous pop, mind you. Lowrider right underneath the WrestleMania Goes Hollywood sign that we actually saw in person at the Superstore not too long ago. We took pictures underneath that very sign, so it's pretty freaking surreal to actually, see that, in hindsight, looking back on this on a rewatch. But Eddie and Ray, as we mentioned, won the tag team titles at No Way Out from the Bashams, but it just can't, this has been festering in Eddie Guerrero for the longest time, ever since their classic Halloween Havoc 1997 Cruiserweight title match. He just can't seem to beat Rey Mysterio, and he just can't get that out of his head. It's been a big chip on his shoulder that he's been wanting to get rid of, so he challenges Rey Mysterio to a friendly match here to open up WrestleMania. Rey Mysterio does not come out cosplaying as a superhero this year. He instead has the Mexican flag in a NASCAR-style jumpsuit. Interesting attire. And we'll get into that over the course of the match.
Michael Cole mentions on commentary that this is the very first time in WrestleMania history that WWE Tag Team Championship partners are facing off one-on-one. I remember as a kid being a little upset that the tag team titles weren't on the line, but looking back on this was such a fun match and probably one of the best openers in WrestleMania history.
Both sets of tag titles, IC title, US title, Cruiserweight title. There's a lot not being defended on the show.
Considering who are the champions around this time, it makes sense that only the world title and the world titles and the women's title are around the line here, but this is such a fun match. It's not long. It clocks in on 13 minutes on the dot, but it's Eddie and Ray, and they're getting all of their best hits out there in this small amount of time that they're given.
Yes, yeah, they do a lot of insane lucha things. There's a nice stalemate. Rey Mysterio hits a beautiful corkscrew plancha over the top rope. These guys know each other incredibly well, and I'm sure they improvised a lot of this action. I mean, maybe except for the finish, because they both knew that Rey Mysterio was going over, just barely. But lots of really inventive lucha stuff. And these two were pioneers. These two were pioneers. So it was really, really cool to see that 8 years to their classic.
The best thing, we talked about this with Ray and Chavo, but it's jacked up to 11 with this match and with Eddie. Eddie just has this beautiful way of countering Ray's aerial offense into amazing grapple moves. Like, there's a great spot where Ray will be going for a sit-out plancha, and Eddie catches him and just gives him the stiffest powerbomb I've seen in my life.
Goodness
Eddie's
gracious.
Powerbombs, especially to Ray, are particularly stiff, and it just makes the match that much damn better. If you play the 2K22 showcase mode, you play the Halloween Havoc match and Ray actually narrates in kayfabe what's going through his mind during the match. And he does
Wow.
bring up how absolutely gnarly Eddie's power bombs are.
Yeah, how about his tilt-a-whirl backbreakers too?
Oh
Like,
God.
you know, the snap that Eddie always got on them, it always seemed to like always come off the most devastating when he hit it on Rey Mysterio. I don't know if that's because Ray was a smaller opponent for Eddie Guerrero, and he just got Ray up and over doing the Oklahoma flip a lot easier, but yeah, this was a really, really, really good opener. I don't want to say this is Ray and Eddie's best match, honestly, because that Halloween Havoc match, like, if you've never seen that Halloween Havoc match, that's probably my favorite WCW match of all time, if you ask me.
Considering the stage that they're on and that this feud is in the very, very, very beginning stages, you know, I think this was just supposed to be a really friendly, fun match, but to really push the narrative that Eddie can't beat Ray. And that comes near the end of the match where Eddie tries to deliver a frog splash. And Ray doesn't even hit the 619 in this match. He just gets him with a quick Hurricane Rana, a roll-up combination, and he pins Eddie. And I feel like, I know I'm not the biggest fan. Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of roll-up finishes, but I just really feel this pushes the narrative of Eddie is so frustrated that he can't move up.
Yeah, he can't put Rey Mysterio away, essentially. Golly, this is just like the lucha action in this thing. These two were among the best lucha performers of all time, if not the very best. Rey Mysterio, they're telling a great story. He goes over again on Eddie Guerrero, and you can sense his frustration. There's a friendly handshake afterwards. You know what my big problem with the match was? And this is a huge nitpick. And I'm sure this is a human thing. Everybody would probably do it. But Tomas, look.
Oh, Rey
Mysterio could not stop touching his damn mask.
And I'm like, Rey's issue for 20 years now. I don't know if it's an anxious habit, if it's a nervous habit, but
dude,
he always adjusts his mask. You can always catch him unstrapping his mask. I think he's just so scared, even though he's been doing this for 30 years, that his mask is going to come unloose. But I think it would have happened by now, Ray. I don't think Ray has ever had his mask come off during a match.
Well, see, the thing is, if you go and watch any other Rey Mysterio match that we've talked about so far, like, you don't notice that little tick as much as you do in this thing. Like, I feel like there's a reason Rey Mysterio never wore this attire to any other match ever again. Probably because his mask was so freaking uncomfortable. And, like, I could tell. I'm sorry, but it was just like he couldn't stop touching the mask. And it was really distracting. But aside from that, it was really, really solid match. I'm giving it 3.5, maybe even 3 3/4. Really, really good opener.
3.5 stars for me. This was a really fun match. It really didn't. Again, this is the beginning of a very long feud for Eddie and Ray. This would actually be Eddie's second to last feud before he unfortunately passed away. And I think this was a perfect gateway to that feud. And we'll be talking about that feud. Judgment Day, give us a couple months. When we get to Judgment Day, it's going to be full throttle on this feud. And it gets absolutely insane. Let's just say my 11-year-old mind has not recovered from this feud ever since. But we're going to get possibly one of the greatest heel turns of all time with Eddie.
Oh, and a huge, refreshing change of pace for one of these individuals. And the matches will get a lot better. But I will say, for right now, if you want to see Eddie and Ray's best match, turn on Halloween Havoc 1997. If you've never seen that mask versus title match that those two had, like, you're doing yourself a disservice. It's freaking
Nobody talks about it, but the following month at World War III, they have a rematch, and it's pretty good. It's not as good as Halloween Havoc, but it's pretty damn good. And I feel like people don't, like, I've mentioned that match before, and people are like, I don't know about that. I'm like, it's a damn good match. It's not as iconic as our Halloween Havoc match, but it's there. And I feel like a lot of people don't know.
It's a great rematch for sure. So yeah, this would also turn out to be, unfortunately, Eddie Guerrero's final WrestleMania appearance before his untimely death in November of 2005. Rest in peace, Eddie. We miss you all the time.
The fact that we're inching closer to that, we're inching closer to Eddie's. And I know I've told the story before, but I will tell it again when we get to near the end of this 2005 perspective. But anywho, onto something really good. for the first time ever in WWE history, it is the inaugural Money in the Bank ladder match. This was a match concept that Chris Jericho came up with, where Jericho was pretty directionless at this time. There was nothing going on for him or most of the mid card at the time, and this was a fantastic way to include most of the mid card on Monday Night Raw, at least, because this was a Raw exclusive match until next year, I think, when they got SmackDown involved.
Yes.
But Jericho went to Vince McMahon with the idea of having a multi-man ladder match. And the prize for that ladder match wouldn't be a championship, but a championship match. Not just a championship match, but a briefcase containing a contract where you can cash in for any time up to a year to get a world championship match anytime you wanted. And when they said anytime you wanted, anytime you wanted. So
we'll get to that.
In the inaugural match, they did not have qualifying matches, but Jericho basically rounded up 6, including himself, of the most elite superstars on Monday Night Raw. He selected himself, the Rated R Superstar Edge, Chris Benoit, the Intercontinental Champion Shelton Benjamin, and Christian Cage with Tyson Tomko and Kane. This would be the first ever 6 participants in the Money in the Bank ladder match. And going into this match as a kid, I did not know what to expect.
Me neither. And I knew that it was going to be a crazy, crazy ride. Yeah. Little did I know that this match would set the tone for all future ladder matches from that point forward.
Oh, yeah. And real quick, before we go on, apparently there was a rumor that this was going to be a one and done. This was going to be the only Money in the Bank ladder match.
Can you imagine?
But the following year, Carlito brought up the idea of keeping it going.
Of all people, Carlito.
Yeah, at least on TV, Carlito came out and said, "Why don't we do this Money in the Bank ladder match again?" But apparently, this was going to be a one and done. There are like 25 plus Money in the Bank ladder matches.
Not to get too ahead of myself, but I just think it's really funny that Carlito brought the idea back. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, he wasn't even in that ladder match at Mania 22, was he?
He wasn't. He lost.
That's really funny. That is really funny.
Because Lashley and Ric Flair, a green Lashley and Ric Flair would be in next year's Money in the Bank ladder match.
Yeah. But point being, thank God this was not a one and done, because what these 6 guys went out there and what they all accomplished together, it is something that I'm sure a lot of other people would have loved to have been a part of. This is a 5-star ladder match for me. I'm just going to throw that out there from the gun. I love this thing mainly because a lot of people ask me, what's your favorite Money in the Bank ladder match? This one. It's really, really hard to top the first one.
This one is very, very, very good. Everybody was so innovative in this match, and we can all agree that the MVP of this match was Shelton Benjamin. I want to say that Shelton Benjamin is probably the MVP of the Money in the Bank ladder match, probably until his departure in 2011, because he's the first person I think of when I think of these early Money in the Bank ladder matches. And
that fucker was in the match every year.
Well, you know what spot we're talking about. We're going to talk about that spot. The spot that was so infamous that it ended up being a part of the Monday Night Raw opening video package. And is it Jericho that takes this move?
It is. It's Jericho.
Jericho is going for the briefcase, and there is a staircase, and Benjamin exactly staircase and delivers a clothesline to Jericho. It's a simple move by today's standards, but in 2005, Shelton Benjamin was really reinventing the wheel. He was doing shit that nobody else was doing, especially in WWE.
He was Ricochet before Ricochet.
Yeah,
he
was.
Goodness gracious, this guy. And they were putting him over because they were like, this guy has all the tools to succeed and be a world champion in this industry. Spoiler alert, he never did become a world champion, but...
you could have made a case for every single person in this match to win the briefcase.
Yes, you absolutely could have. Even Christian, that sneaky little shit with his problem solver on the outside. And say what you want about Tomko, there were some innovative spots where they actually included him actually trying to solve Christian's problem of escaping this thing with the briefcase. He actually does it on his shoulder. He carries him up the ladder.
One little inconsistency problem I have with that. Why would Tomko go through the trouble of propping Christian up and pushing him up the ladder when Tomko himself could just go up there, grab the briefcase, and give it to Christian? There's no rules. There's no rules in this match.
Anything goes.
Disqualify him? So yeah, I get what you're coming from, and that was very innovative, and it was very creative on Tomko's part, but it's just like it just came off unnecessary.
Oh, 100%, 100%.
James Ellsworth is the scum of the earth. He's the dog shit on my shoe, but at least he was smart enough to run up there and grab the briefcase for Carmella.
So many crazy, innovative spots in this match. There is a callback to the Edge and Christian tag team. They hit Kane with a ladder concerto, which was just nasty. Like, I would say, I've had my fair share to say about Kane and what he posts on his Twitter nowadays, but man, I would not want to take that move for sure.
Kane was absolutely brutal in this match. He was absolutely annihilating Chris Benoit's arm with the ladder, sandwiching his arm in a ladder like that. Benoit did some disgusting things in this match that honestly sent a chill down my spine, considering what would happen with him.
God.
A flying headbutt off the tippy top of the ladder
to Kane.
And Benoit was not selling that shit. I guarantee you that was his actual reaction.
He was, because he walks in with a humongous scar on his orbital bone there. I guess he had gotten into a scrap with Tomko on the Go Home Raw, and he got 24 stitches, and he's going into this match with 24 stitches in his head, and this flying headbutt opens up that wound again, and Benoit is bleeding, and I'm like, you freaking idiot. Why would you do that, you know? And Benoit and Kane are atop the ladder, and Benoit is hitting him with so many freaking headbutts. And considering what would happen 2 years later, it's like, no wonder his brain was so screwed up, you know?
Yeah, it was just, that was probably the most disgusting spots I've ever seen in a ladder match. A top ladder headbutt. Edge is the smartest person in this match.
He is.
Because Benoit somehow fights off Kane on this ladder. And
with
he is
one
going
arm.
to reach for the briefcase. Yeah, with one arm. And Edge comes up as Benoit reaches for the briefcase and blasts his shoulder with the steel chair.
Oh,
Nobody said you couldn't use a steel chair in a ladder match.
So loud.
Smartest fucking thing I've ever seen in a ladder match. And Edge climbs the ladder and he retrieves the briefcase. And he is the first ever Mr. Money in the Bank. And that is the title he deserves for the rest of his career. Edge just having his final match on SmackDown, so it's very appropriate that we're talking about this. Edge is Mr. Money in the Bank. He is the first Mr. Money in the Bank. This is going to be the last time he wins Money in the Bank. And I don't want to jump the gun too quick. What he does with this briefcase.
Genius. Absolutely ingenious what Edge does. I mean, we've said our fair share about Edge, man. But he just had what is his final match on his current WWE contract with Sheamus, and a great TV match. Edge, no matter what happens next, he will always be one of my heroes. He will always be one of my favorites. His comeback has been nothing short of inspiring. His career has been nothing short of inspiring. And this was the step that Edge needed to take to really get to that next level. This was it.
You wanna hear something that's probably this is gonna be a hot take.
Go ahead.
You know how Christian Cage had that shirt that said "Outwork Everyone"? Edge needed that shirt in WWE. Because at his age and his state, he was outworking, I want to say 90% of the roster.
Yeah. You don't say. Putting his body on the line every single time he went out there.
Because Edge has not wrestled a bad match.
No, I'm sure there's been a couple like mediocre ones since he's come back. I know you really didn't like his match with Orton at Vengeance, and I did, but
I'm talking 2020 to 2023. I ain't talking about anything.
Oh, you're talking about the current. Oh, okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
Name
Okay.
Ever since he came back, he has not wrestled a bad match.
Oh yeah, no, not at all.
Whether it's with Rollins or Edge. If it's with Rollins,
Edge wrestled himself.
Yes, he did. And doesn't matter if it was Reigns or Rollins or Danielson or Balor. Every single match Edge has wrestled since his return has been great.
I mean, Edge, thinking about it, like just looking at where he goes in 2005, he kind of does wrestle himself at the next pay-per-view in a Last Man Standing. But yeah, 5-star match right here. Love this Money in the Bank ladder match, just like the original Hell in a Cell match, and any other match of its variety comes along. I'm always going to argue you can't top the original. No way, no how. Just because of what these guys did. Like, what these guys did to put this gimmick over. Love it.
I'm gonna give it 4.5 stars because I
Okay.
really did like this match. It was excellent. But honestly, I go through WrestleMania and there are a lot of Money in the Bank ladder matches that I enjoyed just as much. 2008 was really good. 2009 was really good. I really like the one in '07. I think every single Mania one, barring probably next '07, no '06 and 2010, because there was way too many people in the 2010 one. That's why I didn't like that one as much.
10 fucking guys in the 2010
Yeah, and then
Money in
next
the Bank.
year, again, let me say it again. Lashley, a green Lashley, and Ric Flair are in next year's match. Enough said. Enough said.
Not gonna be as good, is it? Not gonna catch lightning in a bottle twice, but
No.
fucking phenomenal match in every way. You would argue that Benjamin was the MVP of this match. I mean, he was pulling off all these crazy stunts. He did hit a T-bone suplex on Edge off the top of a ladder, which eliminated Edge up until the finish that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, say what you want right now. I got to give Chris Benoit the credit here also, because the effort he was putting in, the flying headbutt off the top, the fact that he opened up a 24-stitch wound. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Everybody played their role in this match perfectly.
Yes.
Perfectly.
Kane was the big monster that everybody wanted to take down with flaming ladders in his entrance, which we failed to mention. I feel really bad about that. That was so freaking cool. And it's
Jerry Lawler, just like he sold that shit. He sold that. Look, JR. The
ladders are on fire, JR. But anyway, yeah, great match. If you've never seen this original Money in the Bank match, you're doing yourself a disservice. This is one of the pillars of WrestleMania 21, if you ask me. But
it is. It really is.
Before we get to this next match, Tomas, there's something that we got to talk about. It's something really fun. Our friend Eugene, very special talent who dislocated his kneecap in New Year's Revolution, so he is unfortunately off the WrestleMania card, but he cannot help but wander out to ringside and out into the squared circle, and he just can't help but take in WrestleMania. And he is talking about the fact that being here is the second best WrestleMania moment he's ever seen, only behind.
Considering this would be his only WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I don't count 23, his backstage segment. That stupid backstage segment.
22 also
22 and 23.
Yeah, 22. He has a backstage segment there too, but he goes out to the squared circle. He's talking about how his favorite WrestleMania moment involved a midget army going up against King Kong Bundy in the 80s, and I'm like,
I like how Eugene says my favorite moment from WrestleMania comes from WrestleMania 3, and he didn't say Hogan and Andre.
Nope. Nope. Midgets are awesome. He sounds like he's from
2005.
He sounds like he's from a Happy Madison project, which is interesting considering Adam Sandler and Rob Schneider were shown sitting at ringside before the previous match. But oh boy, Eugene is interrupted by Muhammad Hassan. Wow. Like, how surreal is this? Nick Dinsmore trained Mark Capani, and they get to share this moment together. Even as Muhammad Hassan's walking down to the ring, Eugene, so in character, is like, that's Muhammad. I know him. Like, poor innocent Eugene does not know what Hassan is about.
Let me reiterate. Hassan cuts a promo, and he's not wrong, because he is saying he is being left off the WrestleMania card because of his race. And I'm sitting here thinking, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. WWE straight up just admitting how racist and xenophobic they are. And JR, I don't think was it at this show or another show where he was like, "Oh, if you don't like our country, you don't like our damn country, then you can just leave." I'm like, "Oh my god, I hated this. I hated
it." Bless Mark Capani and his high school principal soul right now, but he goes out there. He cuts a really, really good promo on Eugene. Daivari repeats the entire promo in Arab. And then Hassan basically says, if I'm not going to be given a WrestleMania moment, I'm going to create one of my own. So what does he do? Blindsides the injured Eugene, puts him in the camel clutch. And as soon as that happens, like, you can see everybody sitting up against the hard cam. They're looking towards the entrance because they know that Hogan's coming out to interrupt this. They know, because Hogan was just inducted into the Hall of Fame, and they're looking towards the entrance. Like, they're begging for Hogan to come out. and by golly, Hogan does come out. Yeah.
I didn't expect Hogan to come out.
No, I didn't either. But just on this rewatch, like, like look at the hard cam. Like, go ahead and rewatch this segment. When Hassan puts Eugene in the camel clutch, everybody stands up and they're looking towards the entrance. And you're telegraphing.
Sure. Yeah, honestly, you saying that made me realize all that. Let me tell you this was a very cherished moment in my childhood watching WrestleMania, because not only was it super exciting for everyone in my house watching the show to see Hulk Hogan come out, my mom was, and I think probably still is, the biggest Hulk Hogan mark in the world.
Really?
I'm not kidding. I don't know if she was in the other room or if she was watching at the time, but she heard Hogan's music hit. She looked at the TV and she goes, "There's no way he's here." And when you know that image of Hogan coming out and pointing the finger, she literally shrieked with joy and said, "Oh my God, he's actually there." So I always remember my mom marking out for Hogan at this moment. And I was like, that just made WrestleMania all much the better for me. And this is honestly one of my favorite moments of all time. Just, because we hadn't seen Hogan in 2 years? And me being 11 and not knowing really what was going on around me. And with this Hall of Fame induction, this was a true and genuine surprise for me. So it was so freaking cool.
Me too. Yeah, I was 8 at the time this WrestleMania came around, and I remembered Hogan lifting up his mask as Mr. America, just revealing himself. That was the last time we saw him in World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah,
here he is, brand new Hall of Fame inductee. They're making a humongous deal about it with video packages, promoting that Hogan's going to be there. And by golly, he goes out there and he beats up some angry Arabs, just like a real American does.
Yeah.
Good fucking Lord. He goes out there, does not hit an atomic leg drop, which surprised me. I don't know if Hogan had an injury at this point, but he goes.
Maybe it was one of his many hip surgeries that he had. Because I know every time I watch this, it's like, why didn't he? But it's just perfect because immediately Hassan and Daivari go on the beatdown on Hogan, but Hogan immediately hulks up. And he does one of his spots that I think is one of his most underrated. He'll grab 2 opponents' heads and he'll JR calls it the meeting of the minds, and he just conks their heads together. As a kid, I called it "let's put our heads together." And he goes to beat down Hassan and Daivari. He first hits Hassan with the big boot and tosses him out of the ring. Daivari comes in with a steel chair and hits Hogan with it, and Hogan no-sells it. And Daivari bumped his ass off for Hogan.
He sure did.
Daivari. He bumped his ass off for Hogan
in a spiffy suit, no less.
And another little tidbit that I remember from this night is that Hogan, he celebrates afterward, and he does his many poses. And people were like, "Man, he's doing this for a while." And my dad goes, "Oh, he's trying to make Eugene happy. He's trying to hype him up to get back in the ring." I'm like, Eugene's gone. This is about Hogan.
Yeah, he's disappeared.
It would have been cool to see Eugene go in the ring and Hogan give him a hug or something. But this was all about Hulk Hogan's big return, and this will not be the last time we see Hogan. He is actually back for a short run, one more short run in the WWE. Barring another match here and there in the next couple of weeks, next couple of years, Hulkamania is still running wild in WWE in 2005.
Sure enough. I mean, at least let's hope they don't put the undisputed title on him and we don't have to start another reign of terror, right? Because God forbid we need that again. God forbid we need that.
We're nearing the end of the reign of terror as Hogan is making his return to WWE.
Yes,
but it's not a good show. It's not a good show. Do not watch the show, but there is a whole episode of Hogan Knows Best dedicated to Vince McMahon reaching out to Hogan saying, "Hey, we're going to induct you to the Hall of Fame, and then we want you to show up at Mania, and we want you to have one more run in the WWE." Because
Hogan Knows Best.
Yeah. Again, don't watch the show, but I think if you are going to watch the show, watch that episode. Because it's the only wrestling-centered episode where you actually get to see behind the scenes, Hogan getting the call from Vince, Hogan talking about his family, they want me to wrestle a couple more times. How do you feel about that? Hogan backstage at the Hall of Fame. And there is a great segment of, they jump back and forth of what's going on in the ring and Hogan getting ready backstage and Real American. And the music hits. It's again, if you're gonna watch that show, watch that episode only. It is the best episode of that whole shitstorm that was Hogan Knows Best. But
Oh,
it
geez.
really chronicles it. They should have did a documentary. They should have did a documentary about Hogan's return, because that segment right there on that show was really well put together.
Well, you know, his daughter Brooke also had to get over brother, so
yeah,
that's that's what it's all about.
Would you ever think I would put Hogan over as much as I am right now on this pod?
No, I never would have imagined that.
This is the last fond memory I have of Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, me too. One last ride, perfect for the Hall of Fame. But speaking of last rides and speaking of legends, The Undertaker is putting his 12-0 WrestleMania streak on the line against the legend killer Randy Orton in an interpromotional contest. Randy Orton has finally escaped that horrible babyface turn that he went on.
I was going to say, how did we get here? And I will tell you how. After Orton failed to win the World Heavyweight Championship again in a pathetic attempt at the Royal Rumble, he started feuding with Maven. He had a short little TV feud with Maven, when honestly the roles should have been swapped. Maven should have been a face and Orton should have been a heel.
You don't
say. After that, Orton starts calling out The Undertaker. He says that he is still the legend killer, and The Undertaker has a WrestleMania winning streak of 12-0. And Orton wants to be the one to end that streak. At first, it's a friendly challenge, but Orton does the easiest but most dastardly thing you could do to turn heel. His on-screen girlfriend at the time is Stacy Keibler, and after he challenges Undertaker to this WrestleMania match, he RKOs Stacy for absolutely no reason.
He sure does.
Lakes her out. It's an iconic gif. Look it up. Now it's funny, but as a kid, I was like, Orton was one of my favorite wrestlers. So seeing him do that, I was like, what the actual hell?
He's a dick. He's a dick, man. You know, he's a young, brash, arrogant, young little prick. So,
which he should have been from day one.
Day
fucking one.
And he slaps Taker across the face. You see Orton a lot on SmackDown in the build-up to this. You never see Taker go over to Raw. Orton is always jumping over to SmackDown to do this. So there is a really, really interesting segment in the Go Home SmackDown where Taker is in the ring with Randy Orton's Hall of Fame dad, Cowboy Bob Orton. And Cowboy Bob is down on his knees begging for mercy. He's begging Taker not to go after his son because, as he claims, Randy Orton's the future of the business. If you end him at WrestleMania, you're not going to see my son ever again. I'm working on it. But, they're up to no good, those dastardly Ortons, though, because Bob pulls Taker in again to try and talk some more sense into him. But son Randy comes up from behind and RKOs the Undertaker, and the Ortons get out of dodge. And here we are. WrestleMania 21, Taker versus Orton. Legend has it that Randy Orton was supposed to be the guy to end the streak here years before Brock Lesnar ever would. But because of some pretty unprofessional conduct, which is a common theme you'll see with Randy Orton at this time of his career, that did not happen. Undertaker...
Just like his babyface world championship run went to blunder, this is the same exact reason why Orton does recall in one of his recent interviews that he slept through rehearsal for this match. He overslept. He immediately got up. He got to wherever they were training. Taker still practiced with him, but Taker didn't say a single word to him the entire time. And Orton is a lucky all Taker did was give him the cold shoulder. Yeah,
he's really, really, really lucky. But they go in there. Undertaker makes his grand entrance a year after he returned under this classic deadman persona. They come out with all the druids, one of whom I think was Dennis Knight, looking at their faces. They surround the ring. Taker is on this little Zumba platform thing, and they float him out to the ring. You cannot see this platform moving on the ramp, but it almost looks like Taker is levitating like a ghost out to the squared circle. I was like, that's such a sick entrance.
One of my favorite Taker WrestleMania entrances. I love it.
So
and
simple.
This would be my match of the night if it weren't for another match we're going to get in a little bit. But I loved this match. This is easily the best match Orton has had since the McFoley match at Backlash the year prior. This match is so fucking good.
Oh, it's great. It's honestly, I would argue this is Taker's best match since he returned. It's a match that he has desperately needed for a year after shitty feuds with the likes of Heidenreich, with the likes of Luther Reigns. Who knew that it was Randy Orton that could pull a match like this out of the dead man? Who knew?
Yeah, this was so fucking good. From the get-go, Orton is hitting these beautiful drop kicks on Taker. Taker's doing his classic, grab your opponent by the throat, throw them in the corner, and just start raining down the punches. And it seems like throughout this match, Orton has Taker's number, and he has a counter for all of Undertaker's moves.
Mm-hmm.
It is such a brilliantly crafted match when it comes to storytelling and the in-ring action. This is like, honestly, it's the definition.
Oh, it's, this match, I would honestly give it higher points if there was a little bit more drama. And I feel like if these two guys got a little bit more time, I feel like I would have liked this match a lot more. Right around the level you did. But this was great. This was really great. I'm not denying that at all. This was a
Considering they got
really great match.
Less than 15 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah.
If they would have got 20, this could have been a 5-star match.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I think what
definitely
they were given and what they did, it was really damn good. All about this young upstart, this young arrogant upstart trying to take Undertaker's streak away from him. We do have some interference. Cowboy Bob Orton is able to get in and nail. I love it. He nails Taker with his cast. Yes, it has been 20-something years, and Bob Orton's arm is still broken. It will always be broken, and is never going to get better.
I mean,
committed to the gimmick.
Yeah, being committed to the gimmick. Always a broken arm, always with hepatitis C, apparently. But, sorry, was that too soon? We'll get to that at Armageddon. But, yeah, so he nails Taker with the cast, and this is really the first real instance where the streak feels like this big accomplishment. And every near fall that Randy Orton achieves in this match, it's almost like Earl Hebner gets so close and then Taker kicks out, and the crowd blows up. They're like, "Oh, he was so close. He was like an eighth of a second away from the streak being broken at 12-1." But
now let's talk about that fucking spot. You know what spot I'm talking about. Taker goes for a choke slam. He lifts Orton in the air for the choke slam, and Orton counters it into the RKO. Fucking perfect.
Brilliant.
That will become a staple in Randy Orton's highlight reel for the rest of his career. It is so damn crisp and clean and fluid, and it's the beginning of those crazy out of nowhere RKOs. Like how he was able to pull that off in one swift motion. It's fucking great. I think this is the first time someone's kicked out of the RKO. And if anyone is to do it, it's Undertaker.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. It would make sense for it to be the Undertaker on this night, but I feel like someone else might have kicked out of the RKO. You sure Triple H didn't kick out of it at Unforgiven?
I don't think Orton ever hit it.
Yeah, no, you might be right.
I feel like Taker was the first one. But then
that's a big deal.
A great piece of storytelling that will go throughout their entire feud. Orton wants to put Taker away. He mocks the cross throw, which is another thing that will end up a part of his highlight video.
Yep.
He goes for a tombstone pile driver. Taker reverses it into a tombstone of his own, hits the tombstone, pins, and wins, defeats Randy Orton. I give this 4.5 stars. This was a fucking great. I love this match.
I'm going to give it 4. I really liked this match. Super underrated, like you said. I don't know if I loved it nearly as much as you did. I feel like with a little bit more time and a little bit more drama closer to the end, maybe a few more near falls. Yeah, this definitely could have elevated that. This is definitely Randy Orton's best match since the hardcore match with Cactus Jack. Taker's best match since he returned at Mania 20. Like, I can't deny, I really loved this match.
Yeah, it's like, this was the very first time that you realize Undertaker is back. He had a very rocky first year. Like, I can't confirm or deny this, but something tells me when they were calling him a special attraction, he was supposed to be a special attraction, but Vince had to have been sweet-talking him into doing these shitty feuds just to attempt to put these shitty wrestlers over because Vince saw something in them. And, if anyone is going to do a solid for Vince, it's Taker, unfortunately.
How ironic is it that Taker's best match so far in this Dead Man run came from a guy who didn't even show up to rehearsal the night before?
Yeah.
What does that tell you about Randy Orton's natural talent? Like, don't discredit Randy Orton too much. Yeah, he might have been an immature little prick back then, but man, like, obviously his dad's an Orton and his grandfather was an Orton. So like third generation talent.
Yeah.
It's a natural thing.
This is going to be a very long feud, and this is actually the last time we're going to see Orton until he gets drafted to SmackDown.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. Yeah. So Taker and Orton would, you're right. They continued their feud into the summer. They would have a couple more matches, one of whom.
Here's the thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, here's the thing. We will get to that. Yeah, this feud's going to stretch out for the rest of the year. But after this feud, Orton's going in the fucking doghouse.
You don't say.
Doghouse.
You don't say.
He's gonna be in the doghouse for like over a year. So enjoy this run with Taker, because this is the best thing Orton's gonna be doing for a while.
You could argue this is 2005's feud of the year right here.
Yeah,
like there's a couple good contenders for that title, but we'll get to those. So we've had a pioneer of a ladder match. We've had a really underrated Undertaker match at Mania. You ready for a cool down?
Yeah, you couldn't say that much enough. This is what happens when you only have two big women stars in the company and one of them goes down with an injury. It is Christy Hemme, the winner of the 2004 Raw Diva Search, challenging Trish Stratus for the Women's Championship. The story behind this is...
Excuse me, the Diva Search winner got a title shot?
Yeah, she did.
How? Did she win a #1 contenders match?
No. She walked out to the ring and she challenged Trish Stratus to a match.
For a WrestleMania title match.
Yeah. And the story going into this one was basically Trish Stratus does not think Christy can be her for the title. It's a real underdog attempt by Christy Hemme, but Christy Hemme has some backup. She has Lita training her going into this match. And here's the thing. As a kid, I looked at it and said, and thought, I don't think Christy Hemme is going to beat Trish Stratus, but I think she's going to like have a really, really, really good match with it. It's 4 minutes long.
Yeah, this is way before the time of the Women's Revolution, that's for sure. But don't forget, this feud all started because Christy Hemme revealed that she was the latest Playboy cover girl, the magazine had the gall to call Christy a WWE Diva champion on the cover. And Trish takes exception to the Playboy people using that word for Christy Hemme. Like,
it's not really something to get that upset for. You beat her in 4 minutes, so
women's title match, though. Like,
yeah.
Okay, here's my thing, though. Looking at this whole build and looking at Lita just backing up Christy Hemme and Christy hitting a really shitty twist of fate on Trish, I can't help but think that if Lita did not tear her ACL at New Year's Revolution, this would have been Trish and Lita running it back again. Maybe even with a stipulation. Like,
exactly.
You could have put a hardcore match with those two. You could have had them in a cage, you know.
Yeah, and I know Money in the Bank became being a thing, but I thought about a ladder match, something that would totally just blow off this feud once and for all. But this is what happens when one of them goes down with an injury and they are building no other women's stars at the time.
Yeah.
Like I said, God bless Christy Hemme. I'm going to say this about her now. She is not a good wrestler, and wrestling was not meant for her. But she loved the business, and she found other ways to strive in the business, like later on becoming Impact Wrestling's ring announcer. And I thought she was very good in that role.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she definitely has a lot of passion and enthusiasm for the business. So I can't help but, you know, commend that and, like,
so because
respect.
We ain't going to be talking about Christy Hemme that much on this pod. So I feel like I needed to get my general thoughts of her out of the way. Because here's the thing. When it comes to presentation and, like, she actually has a decent amount of charisma. A lot of pep in her step.
She had a lot of charisma, man.
If she could wrestle, she could be a prelude to like Willow Nightingale. A lot of positivity. You could have gotten behind her easily. If she was a good wrestler, or like maybe a more modern or a more casual example would be Bayley.
Yeah, no. I was about to say, I can't believe you're not mentioning Bayley in this conversation here. Like with her energy, she definitely was giving off Bayley vibes. Her and her, like, you know, dubbed over network theme over Walk Idiot Walk. Yeah, it sounds exactly like a Bayley theme, right?
And here's the thing. As a kid, I was rooting for Christy. I really was.
Yeah, yeah.
She had that, you know, underdog mentality. If only she could be, like, properly trained. If she would have run, if they were taking women's wrestling seriously, Christy is a girl that you could easily have work NXT for 2 years, and then she'd be ready to go. She would be a pretty decent wrestler, if I say so. But we are still in the era of tits and ass. They only hired her because she was hot. And, you know, they were basically like, we're not going to train you, but you're going to have this WrestleMania match with quite possibly the biggest women's star of all time.
Yeah, Trish did all she could. Trish really did all she could, but she hits Christy with a chip kick and pins her in 4 minutes.
The only thing I remember from this match is the awesome attire Trish Stratus wore to the ring. Those iconic suspenders, that iconic bow. Loved it.
She brought it back at Mania this year, too. So
I loved it.
This gets a star. Gets a star for effort.
Star for effort.
Yeah. So
not the worst women's match in the world, but no build. It's what happens when you slap something together, and you got to put your Stratus. Yeah, you have to put your Stratus on the card. She's like on the best run of her career.
Yeah, but this is the last women's title match I think we're gonna have until Unforgiven.
Yeah, because she's gonna get injured.
She's gonna get injured, and they don't have anybody else to put the title on, so they're just gonna have Trish hold the title for over a year.
We will talk about how she gets injured. Well, she gets injured for real, but how they wrote her off TV next month at Backlash. A very, very, very uncomfortable match that I am not looking forward to talking about.
No, me neither. But I'm very excited to talk about this next match because how do you unpack this one? Interpromotional action, Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels. This is a match that's been built up since the Royal Rumble when Shawn eliminated Kurt in a fair way. Just got the better of Kurt. Sweet chin music. Kurt, being a poor sport, gets back in the ring and tosses Shawn over the top rope in revenge. And everybody got super excited when they saw that clash of styles there because they thought that's a Mania match. It's such a simple build-up. But
yeah,
Kurt is basically
Michaels with the steel steps, put him in the ankle lock, and even as a kid, I saw that. I was like, well, that's happening at Mania.
Yep, and it sure as hell was. And the build to this thing was a lot of fun. Kurt Angle is basically going off about how he won that Olympic gold medal in Atlanta in 1996 with a broken freaking neck, but all anybody could talk about in the wrestling world was Shawn Michaels going 60 minutes in that overrated Iron Man match. And Kurt is, it is overrated. It's overrated. Go watch that match.
It's a good match.
It's boring as fuck. It's boring as fuck. I'm sorry, Greg, if you're watching this, but that Iron Man match was boring, but
it's a good match.
That's what you think. So Kurt is basically he's going off about like you calling yourself the best wrestler in the world. I think that's a disgrace. And Shawn Michaels is counter arguing by saying that he's the greatest sports entertainer in the world. So it's pro wrestling versus sports entertainment. Yeah, take that angle. Shawn Michaels is, once again, you barely see Kurt Angle on Raw in the build to this match, even though the Raw announce team is calling this thing. Shawn Michaels is disguising himself as a cameraman to attack Kurt Angle from behind on SmackDown.
Michaels really was the master of disguise at this time. Because it's like,
oh man, he had that crazy Hogan get up on Larry King. King.
He doesn't get enough credit for that, being the master of disguise during this run.
Yeah, Kurt also beats the crap out of Josh Matthews to prove a point in the build to this. He squashes Marty Jannetty in a Kurt Angle Invitational, but all anybody remembers about this build is Sherry Martel coming in and Kurt Angle singing a song that I dare you to repeat.
I'm just a sexy Kurt.
Sexy Kurt.
I'll make your ankle hurt.
Ankle hurt.
The angle slam.
The angle. Okay, I have a bone to pick with the lyrics real quick. He says he's got the moves that will make them all tap out, but the angle slam is not a submission hold.
That's like in Rey Mysterio's theme where he says all the guys lock out with the tap out. When has Rey Mysterio ever made anyone tap out? The boys just lock out with the tap out.
When has Kurt Angle ever made someone tap out with the angle slam? Like, name one time you've...
Probably on the Indies.
Probably in TNA the next year, but not that I'd remember. But holy fuck, this match was amazing. Holy fuck. I watched this match back a few times, like in this rewatch, and I rewatched it again today. That's how much I love it.
My favorite wrestler going up against the greatest mat wrestler of my generation. This is, wow, such a damn good match from start to finish. This is just This is one of those matches where if you have a friend that is thinking about getting into pro wrestling, you show them this match.
I was gonna say that. So a lot of people tend to be surprised when I tell them I'm a wrestling fan, or they see me in a wrestling t-shirt walking around in public, and they're like, why do you like that stuff? It's fake, man. Like they'll tell you like a lot of aggravating things about how I should not be a pro wrestling fan. And I have a list. I have a list of a small handful of matches that I would sit any one of those people down, and I would force them to watch it, and I would show them this is why I love this business. Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels, WrestleMania 21, April 3rd, 2005, is one of those matches.
Oh, yeah. I have one of those too.
Fucking believable. Like,
yeah. Another one is Michaels and Triple.
Yeah, the unsanctioned match. This is, without a doubt, one of Shawn's best Mania matches. He's started dubbing himself Mr. WrestleMania around this time. This is far and away, no doubt about it, no questions asked, the best Kurt Angle WrestleMania match you'll see. No question.
Yes.
Better than the match against Brock Lesnar, better than the Eddie match from the previous year. This is the best match that he's had at WrestleMania.
It is. It 100% is, because this is, he talks about this on his podcast, how he was really starting to transition into the wrestling machine phase of his career. And it's just, it's crazy because, you know, everyone has been having this debate ever since he retired about what run has been better, either this run or, as much as we like to make jokes about Kurt Angle and TNA, he was just going absolutely bonkers, like 150%, wrestling a style he should not be wrestling. And it's just crazy how he just kicked it up a fucking notch. He just turned up the fucking dial at this point in his career. Like there was not a person that could outwork him on the planet.
No.
To this day, until I saw Bryan Danielson for the first time, I said there was not a single person on this planet that could out-wrestle Kurt Angle until Bryan Danielson came along.
Yeah, man. I mean, Kurt and Shawn just went in there, and it's even more amazing because these two had never locked up in a match before, one-on-one at least. I don't even think they rehearsed this thing. A lot of people often compare this to Savage and Steamboat at Mania 3, but here's the difference. Savage and Steamboat was super precise. Savage and Steamboat got together, and they mapped out the entire match. They were move for move, super meticulous, down to the detail, and a lot of people call that one of the greatest Mania matches of all time. Angle and Shawn, I don't know how many rehearsals they had. Like, they must have gone in there and they freaking tore the house down for about 25 minutes or so is how long this went.
They really
flew
did.
By.
And the spot of this match that everybody talks about is the moonsault off the apron onto the announce table.
Yes.
Such a beautiful sight. A spot that Michael would actually repeat for the next few WrestleManias, and it gets like even more devastating every single time.
God, yeah, and the table doesn't even fucking break either.
No.
Because, like, I think the King even said, yeah, so many people have gone through these tables that we've reinforced them with steel, so that way they don't break and we can do our work. And I'm like, shit, man. I mean, that's not...
that.
Yeah. Kurt Angle hits an angle slam on the outside, backing Shawn's oft-injured back into the ring post. It looks so devastating, but then they show you the replay from a different angle, and it doesn't look as devastating, but, like, I'm sure this sucked. Either way he would have landed. I'm sure this was a bad bump to take, but especially with Shawn's back injury history, like, shit. Like, that was a crazy spot. Angle also tries to kill Shawn Michaels with the German suplex off the apron. They get back in. Kurt locks in the ankle lock, and you would think that Shawn was in the ankle lock for at least half of this match. Like,
he really was.
Shawn
he really was.
Sold that ankle lock like it was the worst pain he had ever experienced in his life.
And that's why Shawn Michaels is the greatest storyteller of all time. The way he was selling that ankle lock, the way he was clutching his hair. And this is how you can tell one Maxwell Jacob Friedman is a huge fan of Shawn Michaels, because I saw the spot that MJF would replicate, at Revolution. I don't
want to tap.
Toying with the crowd. I love it. And that's the first thing I thought. I'm like, oh, I can tell who MJF gets his inspiration from. You know what? Good taste, MJF.
One of them.
The greatest wrestler of all time.
One of many. Kurt eventually does hit an angle slam in the ring, reversing Sweet Chin Music. Hits a super angle slam, both of which got super close near falls, and the crowd was coming unglued for this thing. Kurt was on the verge of tears, and he was picking Shawn up, and he was like, tap out, just tap out, and he was just screaming in his face. Like, you know, this is the intense Kurt Angle that I absolutely love. It's the picture of him up there that I got him to sign at WrestleCon this past year, of him with the World Heavyweight title. This is my favorite iteration of Kurt. He was just so intense in Shawn's face, like, just give up, tap out. Shawn lets go, boom, Sweet Chin Music, and he falls down, and you would have thought that Kurt was shot by a large gun. Like, he was out cold. Like,
that is probably my favorite super kick of all time right there.
Oh, that should have been the finish, man. That should have been the fucking finish.
Fucking good.
Oh. And yeah, I love this match too. And another thing is, it really could have gone either way. Like, this was probably the most unpredictable match on the card back then for a lot of people, because you have arguments for Shawn to win and you have arguments for Kurt to win. But yeah, Shawn hits that super kick. It takes him like a minute to go and cover Kurt Angle or so. And I love Kurt, but is it just me, or has he not mastered the art of kicking out at 2.99 by this point? Because it seems like he's fucked up that close 2 count against The Rock at No Way Out 01. And even against Brock, there were a couple of points where I was like, that was 3. That was 3. This one the crowd thought was super obvious, and they were like, oh. I mean, I'm sure I'm just nitpicking here because Kurt is like one of my favorites, but I'm just sitting there like, that could have been 3. That could have been 3. Yeah. You know?
Oh, yeah. But he gets Shawn Michaels back in the ankle lock, and he is in, like you said, this ankle lock for like the longest time. Longest time. And Michaels.
And this ankle lock comes out of nowhere, too. Shawn gets up, doesn't know what to do. He starts limping around. Kurt's playing possum, trips him up, grabs his foot,
and snatches him up. Oh, my God.
Yes. Oh, and Shawn tries kicking out of it multiple times. Kurt holds onto it like a freaking pit bull, and he is just like, this ankle is in such a gruesome position.
Here's the thing. I am watching this match as an almost 30-year-old man, and even then, I could feel like my inner childhood coming out, and I was looking at the screen, and I looked at Shawn Michaels, and I go, it's okay. You can tap out. It's okay. And when he did, I'm like, that is the most heart-wrenching loss. Okay, so here, I have this thing. You know when you're watching The Lion King, and you're just, every single time you watch that movie, you pray and pray and pray that Mufasa.
You pray that Mufasa doesn't die.
Yeah, you just pray, even though you've watched the movie like 30 times to this point, you just pray that this time you have been gaslighting yourself your whole life and Mufasa doesn't die.
But he does. It's Hamlet. Mufasa has to die. So, you're forgetting the point that Kurt Angle actually did grapevine the ankle lock, and that's what made Shawn tap out. And you brought this up. Once Kurt Angle grapevines that ankle lock, it's game over. So once you, like, it's okay, Shawn. You can tap out. He taps out, and Kurt Angle says, I'm the freaking man, and he's so intense. I'm the best in the world. I'm number one. Like, this match gets 1,000,000 stars. If I could give a match 1,000,000 stars, I absolutely would. I mean, maximum, obviously, one of the greatest WrestleMania matches of all time, man. This is a delight, an absolute delight.
Even as an 11-year-old kid, watching Shawn Michaels tap out broke my heart. He's the heartbreak kid for a reason, because he likes to break his fans' hearts too.
Yeah.
But that was, gosh, if I could go back in time and change any finish to a match, I would. I would swap that. Not for like a smart reason, just for a personal fan reason. Just like Michaels being my favorite of all time, I would keep his whole career the same, except for I would swap that. I would put Michaels over.
Yeah, after that super kick.
I don't give a rat's ass that he got his win back later. This was the one that mattered. You know what? I'm going to be that guy. There didn't need to be a rematch. They could have left it at this for the rest of time.
Yeah.
I understand why they did do a couple more rematches, because the rematches were good. And, you know,
they were great.
To milk this feud some more. Angle goes to Monday Night Raw for the same reason Orton goes to SmackDown. He needed to. No shit. But yeah, if you would have left this match alone to the end of time, it would have been okay. I never needed to see this match again.
Yeah, yeah, but they would have a couple more matches, not nearly as phenomenal and as unbelievable as this was. These are the type of matches that make WrestleMania what it is. Like, so much, like, great chain wrestling at the beginning where Shawn is frustrating Kurt, out wrestling him in the early going. You have your high spots. Shawn missing his elbow drop. Kurt missing the moonsault like he always does. Shawn almost killing himself with the moonsault. And then you have the drama at the end with Shawn in that ankle lock and the super kick and the near falls. This match had everything. It's got everything you want in a match. As a pro wrestling fan, this is a pro wrestling fan's dream come true right here. The true definition of what a dream match should be. Love this
really,
thing.
really is.
Yeah. in case you couldn't tell, we love this match.
It is fantastic. We go from a legendary match to, believe it or not, a legendary segment. A segment that I don't think I was old enough to understand the magnitude
I fucking love this segment.
Yeah. So they were hyping this up for weeks that Roddy Piper was making his return to the WWE, and he was going to have a special edition of Piper's Pit with Stone Cold Steve Austin. Now, I will admit, when I was a kid, I didn't get this. But as an adult, let me tell you, all you youngins out there that are going to go back on Peacock and watch all these old shows, you don't understand how important it was for Roddy Piper and Stone Cold to be sharing a ring for the very first time. Because let me tell you, all you Attitude Era kids out there, if Roddy Piper didn't exist, there would be no Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right on the button there. Part of the reason why Roddy Piper also went into the Hall of Fame the night before. The third time a Hall of Fame inductee from this inducting, what's the word I'm looking for?
The class.
Yeah, thank you, the class. But Piper comes out there and he starts, cutting a promo about like, I've heard so much about this rebel. I don't know why I sound Paul Heyman while I'm imitating him.
Here's the thing. Of course, Piper is the fucking man at this. The crowd starts wutting him. And Piper turns to him and says, "What are you, deaf?" What? Okay, I'll say it again.
Now, if you shut up, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you can't out-heel Piper. God rest his soul.
Make sure you can follow this. I'm going to go slow. Make sure you can follow this. What?
Think of your favorite heel in pro
motherfucker!
Right Think of your favorite heel in pro wrestling right now. They wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Piper.
Right. So you send one of arguably the biggest babyface of all time to go out there with one of the biggest heels of all time. Piper says, "Welcome to Piper's Pit," gives Austin a slap across the face, and then Austin then says, "Thanks for having me, you stupid son of a bitch," slaps Piper across.
Loved it.
Piper still slaps so well, and he's like, he's a cartoon.
If you go back in history, Piper and Austin always missed each other. When Austin was making his rise, Piper was in the WWE. When Piper was on top of the world, Austin was still making his ranks up through WCW and ECW. So they just missed each other every single time. When Piper came back to do his short run in WWE, Austin was already,
they always missed each other.
They always missed each other. So the fact that they finally got to share a ring and a segment together was pretty legendary.
Yeah.
And basically Piper is questioning if Austin is really as much of a badass as he is. And Austin he fires back. Oh, he fires back with your little jacket. You look at me wearing a little skirt.
What? You got your little black jacket? You think you're intimidating with your silly little red dress? What? Your silly
little dress.
Your furry gimmicks? What?
It's a fun segment until one Carlito Caribbean comes to crash the party. Carlito is still injured. I mean, he's not injured, but he's not cleared to compete. So there's not really much they can do with him.
Piper's such a legend that he talks over Carlito's music while he's making his way to the ring. Like,
yeah.
And you were right. You were right. Carlito's not in a sling anymore, but he does come out there. He's not really cleared to compete yet, but he does get a segment with a couple of legends to be cannon fodder for them. Carlito is doing the normal heel thing that a Vince McMahon heel would do. He basically asks them to leave the ring for reasons unexplained, And then Roddy Piper takes Carlito's apple that he brought out to the ring. Piper eats like half of this apple before spitting it in Carlito's face. Like, good Lord. Carlito never took that many bites. Never.
No. Piper, you know there's catering in the back, right? You know you can eat before your second, right?
it's like Piper, you know, oh, hey, here's a snack, buddy. Oh, I came here to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum. So you know what? I'm going to chew this apple instead. You know?
He came here to kick bubble gum and chew ass.
Ew, disgusting. Yeah. But Carlito starts beating up Roddy Piper, and Piper eventually gets the upper hand, and Austin's just watching these two go at it. Like, at first,
it's like, I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna help you now because I want to help you, because I want to beat the shit out of Carlito. But I'm gonna watch for a minute. I'm gonna see how well you fare for yourself.
Mm-hmm. And then Austin, of course, nails Carlito with a stunner. They start to have a beer bash in the ring, and Piper is getting drunk off his high horse. Like I said, Piper was a living, breathing cartoon character, and he's walking around like he's just like, he doesn't know where he is. He's been fed so many beers from Austin, like he's at a frat party, doesn't have a clue where he, like, of his surroundings. Like, if he had bumped into an ottoman, like, he would have fallen over and cracked his skull open. But, good Lord. So they share some more beer. Austin, of course, stuns Piper before he leaves. And, really fun segment. Really fun segment, man.
Yeah, really cool. This is what WrestleMania is all about.
It is.
It's going to get really weird for Austin, because Austin is slated to make a return later this year, but I don't know what happens for real. I remember hearing something that he got into a car accident, or I don't know why he was written off TV.
Nah, I don't buy that for a second, but
something happened behind the scenes with Austin, but he was supposed to wrestle later this year, and something happened, and he didn't, and we didn't see Austin for a long time after that. So it's very weird to be chronologically what happens with Austin next.
I don't think we see Austin again until the beer drinking contest he has with JBL next year.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Again, you know what pay-per-view match I'm talking about, but he's supposed to have a pay-per-view match, and it just doesn't happen super last second. Like 2 days before the pay-per-view, he drops out. Yeah, it's very weird.
But speaking of JBL,
Piper next year.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see.
Something very weird.
We'll see Piper next year. It's some pretty unfortunate circumstances that we see him under. But it's, you know, obviously this is about a year and a half or so before his cancer diagnosis. But Piper, if like you would have had me fooled, Piper still looks pretty lean around this time. Like he wasn't a full-time wrestling competitor like since '98, I want to say, but if he wanted to do, like, I know he had a couple of bad matches when he made his first return to the company, but he could have had me fooled. It could have been a pretty, he could have had a pretty decent, like, cinematic match or two, but I don't know. But okay, speaking of JBL, we have the next match up here.
Nope, you're not getting out of this. Not getting out of this. We have an attraction match. We have an attraction match.
We do?
This is not an attraction match.
Oh, shoot. Wait. No, this isn't an attraction match. There's nothing attractive about it. What are you talking about? So the Big Show. Let's talk about it. The Big Show, literally after challenging the past two pay-per-views for the WWE title, he's got nothing to do at WrestleMania.
They got
absolutely nothing. So what happened
for your brother?
Yeah, except for bring in Akebono, the first American sumo wrestler to achieve Yokozuna status, and they're gonna have a fucking sumo match. Not a shoot sumo match, because obviously, you know, Big Show would have gotten smoked if this was a shoot. But what
he still did.
But they did the thing where okay.
So
we're laughing.
Going to take one of your second over babyface on SmackDown, who's been getting very over on his own this year, mind you. And you're going to take him and put him into a gimmick match, a wrestling match that the American crowd is not familiar with, and you're going to put him up against a sumo wrestling champion.
So, it's a great idea. Fantastic, right? So, here's my thing. I will give the WWE some credit here. Mainly because for a mainstream audience that had never seen a sumo match before, they were doing all they could to educate the audience on different cultures. You know, like, this is WrestleMania after all. Like, if you're gonna have a little sideshow attraction here and show the world different, like, show us as American audience members different cultures of wrestling and like different traditions of wrestling, of different forms of wrestling, fine, you know. But my thing in hindsight, this is WrestleMania goes Hollywood. If you want to have a celebrity match, how many fucking celebrities do you have at your disposal in Los Angeles?
I mean, I'd rather see a celebrity segment over a match, but
you've had some good celebrity matches, brother. You've had some real good celebrity matches, but
let me tell you something, brother. They took apart the entire ring for this, took off the ropes. They decorated the entire thing to be sumo appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
They went through all of the traditions, all the customs, all of the everything in a typical sumo match, all of that trouble for a 60-second match.
Yeah. So they go out there.
Done before it even started.
Yeah. I mean, they were chasing the evil spirits away with the stomping, which is part of the sumo culture. They were throwing salt in the ring to purify the ring with the with whatever it was that we saw the Big Show in. But yeah, so Big Show goes in there. He I laughed so hard at this. Big Show actually does the chokeslam taunt in the middle of a sumo match.
Because they had to drag it out somehow. They knew this match was only going to be like 20 seconds long.
Yeah, because but
again, that's like if you threw me in the ring with Floyd Mayweather, the match would be over in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And you're gonna get all that together. You're gonna, the ring announcements and the entrances, and you're gonna have people pay the money. You're gonna have Michael Buffer announce us just for the ding ding. Mayweather knocks my ass out. That's what this would have been. So they were really stretching out time, doing the customs, but then they would go together and they would go back in their corners and do the salt again. And it's just like, WWE knew, they were like, we got to stretch this thing out as long as possible because we all know Akebono is going to throw Big Show's ass out of the ring.
Yeah, and that's sure enough, that's what he does. There is no upset. Big Show claims that he got close from lifting up a 504-pound man, which is impressive in itself. But, Akebono just throws Big Show out of the circle and he wins. Sumo match. Yeah, simple enough, but okay. Yeah, that's enough said about that. The less said about Big Show's attire in this thing, the better. But okay, WWE title time.
Yep, here we go. This is a big culmination. This felt like, even as a kid, I felt like this was the end. This was the end of JBL's historic 7-month reign as WWE champion, the longest reigning WWE champion in SmackDown history, mind you. Not The Rock, not Brock Lesnar, not Kurt Angle, but John Bradshaw Layfield.
Mm-hmm.
As a kid, I was saying he's been holding this title hostage for way too long. He survived The Undertaker.
That statement does not age well, Tomas. Holding a title hostage. How many days has Roman Reigns held this WWE Championship hostage nowadays?
Over 1,000.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, JBL's reign does not even come close to what Roman Reigns is doing right now. Not even close.
And who is going to be the one to beat JBL for this title? None other than John Cena. John Cena is on the cusp of greatness right now. He won that tournament to become number one contender for the WWE Championship. I really like the build to this match.
It was a lot of fun, wasn't it?
Issue with it. So number one, this is where his iconic "The Time Is Now" theme song debuts on an episode of SmackDown prior to WrestleMania. Okay, so the latter half of this build was really, really, really good. No issues with that. It's the first half of this build that really bothers me.
Yeah.
So JBL is telling Cena, he's trying to make it like a classist story, like, oh, I'm the rich guy, you're the poor guy that grew up in the projects. JBL's hurling insults at Cena, saying, oh, I've made millions of dollars. Meanwhile, your mom had to lay on her back for the grocery store manager to get groceries. Good stuff that JBL's spitting, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I find it very hard to believe that John Cena, a white kid from West Newbury, Massachusetts, that went to a private school and got a full ride to college on a football scholarship,
right?
Playing the underdog, underprivileged kid from the ghetto.
Why is
very hard to believe?
Yeah, why is John Cena trying so hard to be a gangsta? Like,
Exactly.
He's trying so hard to be black. Like,
That's the only thing that bothered me about this build. Other than that, it was really good because JBL screws John Cena out of his United States Championship by helping Orlando Jordan to beat him. Jordan is the last person you would expect to beat Cena for this title, but they had to get the U.S. title off Cena going into this match.
They did.
Cena goes on this huge tear. He goes to Teddy Long. This is the part I don't get. Teddy Long says, okay, fine, you're going to get your rematch. And Cena says, I don't want a rematch. I'm like, then why are you so mad right now?
Yeah, because you're going to eventually get a better title, and Orlando Jordan's just going to stay in mid-card purgatory with the U.S. title. And it's also should be noted that the so in any case, John Cena, so he
Cena is mad at Teddy Long over what happened in the U.S. title match, that Cena gives the attitude adjustment to Teddy Long. And in a rare heel moment by Teddy Long, Teddy tells Cena, for putting your hands on me last week, if you put your hands on JBL before WrestleMania, you will forfeit your match for the WWE Championship. But JBL, if you physically provoke Cena first, he can fight back. So it turns into this whole great thing where Cena is purposely trying to get under JBL's skin to get him to hit him. He's spray painting on Cena. JBL saying, I'm not touching you. I'm not touching. They have a debate segment where Cena takes JBL's hat, he pours water into there, and then he slaps it back onto JBL and says, like, okay, fine, go ahead, hit me. Like, do it. Give Cena an excuse to knock him out.
Exactly.
Then, like 2 weeks before SmackDown, Cena absolutely vandalizes JBL's limo.
He sure does.
JBL charges back on Cena, gets him handcuffed, and that's when he proceeds to beat the hell out of Cena, but Cena can't fight back now because he's handcuffed. It's a really, really, really good build. But, everything prior to the match, even the entrances were really good. Cena's entrance was really good. The fake JBL dollar bills falling from the ceiling. Let me tell you something, man.
Yeah.
The biggest heel on this show is not JBL. It's not Triple H. Hell, it's not even Roddy Piper. It's that lady that is holding up JBL's dollar bill. The one that they focus on.
Oh, God.
Remember her for after the match. Because there is this lady.
Yes.
She's holding up one of the dollar bills. And she goes, yay, JBL. I want you to remember her. I want you to remember her.
Oh, yeah. Can we talk a little bit more about this build real quick? So, it's almost like... So, Cena loses his spinner U.S. title to Orlando Jordan. And please do not forget that JBL tossed Cena's spinner title in a trash can and set the trash can on fire. And now the traditional, if I can speak, U.S. title design is back. Orlando Jordan is carrying it around, and JBL makes his entrance, and this is a very underrated WrestleMania theme entrance. JBL gets a whole ass police escort like he's the president or something. And I've been waiting so long to say this to you, Tomas. It is raining Bradshaw bucks. It's raining Bradshaw bucks.
Terrible.
I know.
That is absolutely terrible.
Yeah, but to your point, that girl who I'm sure probably flew at least like 17 hours to be at this show, she's holding up one of the Bradshaw bucks and it's got JBL's face on a $100 bill. I'm sure those are really cool and rare collector's items from people that were in the building. But
fucking remember her. Anywho, Cena comes out with his brand new theme song.
I do remember that.
Brand new theme song that it becomes iconic in his career. He still uses it to this day. He's wearing his Chain Gang Soldier jersey that I actually got for Christmas the following year.
Really?
Wow. I think I still have that jersey to this day. This is when Cena became my Hogan, and I became the biggest Cena mark in the world. Same. Even bigger, like 6 months later, and I can't wait to share that story with everybody. But Cena was the best. But as much as we've been praising this feud and the build, this match is bare bones. Like,
it's very plain.
It's very plain. It's the definition of decent.
It's a SmackDown match.
There is nothing special about this match. Like, and you know how much that pains me that much it pains me to say that.
Yeah, especially since
it's such an important match.
Yeah, because think about it. This is supposed to be the coronation of our Hulk Hogan, and this is like, at best, if I'm being generous, 2.25 stars. Like,
It's
this was
all right. It's there. They get the WWE Championship match gets a little over 10 minutes, 11
yeah.
minutes, 25 seconds. And I don't know what it was. I mean, I will be honest, with the exception of their parking lot brawl they have in 2008 and the I Quit match they have at Judgment Day,
Oh,
Cena and JBL don't have the best chemistry.
Dude, their I Quit match it's no contest their best match. Their parking lot brawl that they would have in 2008 was nothing more than a cinematic match to me. Like, nothing is
good.
It was really good. It was fun, but nothing is going to come close to that I Quit match, and I cannot wait to talk about that in a couple months. But this one, by comparison,
these guys don't click. These guys never clicked.
JBL also dominated this match. If this was like 11 minutes, JBL was on offense for about 10 of them. And then John Cena makes his comeback. He makes a miraculous comeback. JBL goes for a clothesline from hell, and Cena rolls through, hits one FU, and pins JBL. And that's it.
It's is JBL jumping off the top rope and Cena catching him in a power slam.
Yeah, but it's pretty for what they call a monumental 9-month WWE title reign. That's the longest in SmackDown history. This was a pretty straightforward finale for that. This is
here's the thing. As a kid, I was so excited for this finish. I was so excited to see Cena win the championship. But I look back on it, and if you watch it, just completely silent, Cena gets virtually no pop.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's like, I don't know what's wrong with this crowd. And Cena, this is such a monumental night. This is the first time Cena has won the WWE Championship, and this is where they strap the rocket to him and then shoot him into the stratosphere, because the projects that Cena is up to after this night, it gets insane. It's like they wasted no time putting him in movies and sending him to talk shows, and he produced his own album, and he gets a new championship, and it's crazy that this was.
We'll get to that title, won't we?
Stardom. But he wins the championship. He's excited. Nobody else is excited. He grabs the championship. He bites the championship. He goes out to the ring. He runs out to this fan, and this fan is like no-selling it for him. So much that to get this fan to get excited, Cena gives him the championship and raises his hand like nobody is like excited for Cena. And then Cena does the iconic shot where he falls back into the crowd with the championship, which is a pretty cool sight. And that gets the crowd a little more excited. And this is where this bitch comes in.
Yeah.
That same bitch that was holding up the dollar bill, cheering for JBL, is holding Cena. And she is like cheering for Cena like she's his new favorite wrestler. I hate this lady.
What a traitor, huh?
What a fucking two-faced.
Why would you betray my father like that after he gave you a bunch of Bradshaw dollars from the ceiling of the Staples Center, huh?
She was like, I'm gonna cheer for either side, so either way I win.
Christ, like John Cena.
With you.
Yeah,
it's a 2.25 match, 2.25 star match. Cena would replicate this victory celebration at WrestleMania 25 when he wins the World Championship. I am convinced he did this just to make up for this shitty one right here.
Yeah. I mean, it was also like the crowd was also still kind of off of that. Like, I feel like they were still cooling down from Angle and Shawn, even though that was like almost an hour before this. It's a long show, but Cena, he goes in there, he celebrates with the crowd, and this is his first of many world championships throughout his career. It's monumental. But the match itself is not all that special. Like,
it's not. For
a 9-month title reign to come to an end in this straightforward and, dare I say, anticlimactic of a fashion, it kind of makes me wonder how much they value JBL as champion over those 9 months.
Yeah, it's like
it kind of makes me question that.
Those shenanigans that JBL pulled. There was no stipulation on this match. The cabinet wasn't banned.
No.
What happened to all those crazy shenanigans? JBL getting people to do his dirty work for him finding, and he just like.
Yeah, what happened to the cabinet being able to interfere?
It's like JBL's like, you know what? I don't feel like being champion anymore. let's just end it here.
It's like
And
he pulled Eddie
yeah.
Guerrero. He pulled an Eddie Guerrero. He was tired of the road life for 9 months.
Yeah.
Just lasted a bit longer, and he was like, you know what? Let me just hand over the torch to a guy who is hungry for it, and he wants to carry the banner. But Cena would do that. Cena would carry the WWE banner for another decade or so, at least. So,
yeah, it's crazy how this match turned out.
Yeah, so for a WWE title match at Mania, pretty disappointing, but hey, it's monumental for the reason that it's a coronation of John Cena, but
it is.
That is not the only coronation that we have to get to, because your main event of WrestleMania 21 is the implosion of Evolution, shades of WrestleMania 5, Hogan and Savage. Triple H is defending the big gold belt against the Animal Batista. So, how on earth did we get here? Batista wins the Royal Rumble after being screwed over by Triple H in the greatest Elimination Chamber match of all time. Triple H decides not to help Batista stay in the match because Triple H knows that Batista is a threat. Batista wins the Rumble, and then Triple H is doing all he can to keep his protege away from him and the World Heavyweight title. He's doing everything. Like, so much so that Batista was sent over to SmackDown for a spell just to get the buy rate up for No Way Out. But we knew full well that it was going to be Hunter and Dave in this main event.
And this all boiled down to one segment where Triple H was convincing Batista he should go to SmackDown, win the WWE Championship, and all of Evolution will rule WWE. But while he was telling Flair this plan, he made the mistake of saying, Batista, it's kind of dumb. He doesn't know what's good for him. So I need to be that person for him. Batista's not dumb. He is hiding right around the corner, and he heard everything. So Bischoff and Teddy Long are in the ring getting ready to help Batista make his decision. Batista has the 2 contracts, and he drops the Raw contract, holds up the SmackDown one, gives the Triple H and Flair the thumbs up. They're like, yeah, you're going to do it. Thumbs down. You know how I just talked about?
Love it.
This is one of the greatest babyface turns of all time.
Yes.
Batista goes insane. He clotheslines Triple H. Batista falls him through the table. He grabs the Raw contract, signs it, throws it on his chest. Boom. There's your Mania main event right there.
Dare I say the greatest contract signing segment in WWE history with Batista's babyface turn? Like
100%.
Goodness gracious. I mean, he doesn't have saliva yet to play him out to the ring, but man, I mean, his theme song is still really great. But speaking of theme songs, Triple H is played out to the ring by the legendary Motorhead, just like he was at Mania 17. Lemmy is so incoherent, but you don't care because it's still his theme song. And you're like, is that
rest in peace, Lemmy.
Yeah. Love Motorhead. But Hunter it's so silly. So Motorhead is on this elevated stage playing off to the side. Hunter rises up through a little cultivator before it became a cultivator. It was so cool, but it's so in hindsight. Like, where did Triple H come from? Like, he's at a rock concert and he's a special guest at the rock concert. Hey, Triple H is actually here, God
damn it.
God damn, man. But so these 2 fellas go in there, and this is a pretty brutal main event. Like, not really on the level of the drama that the triple threat was at Mania 20, but
no. This match is very methodic. It's very it's bloody too, and I think it's more about Triple H really commanded this match, but not to say that Batista didn't have really good moments in this match. It is really just that super personal, physical Mania main event that we would get used to. Like, I feel like there's 2 types of WrestleMania main events, and they happen in the same night. You have your super exciting, near fall, high spot, championship match like that. And then you have the slow, methodical, personal beef one. And that felt like that.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there. This one, Triple H and Batista do a lot of crowd brawling. Of course, Nature Boy Ric Flair on the outside is going to get involved. Beat down his former son figure, in a sense. Batista looked at Flair like another father figure. And here's Flair beating Batista up behind referee Mike Chioda's back. They're starting to brawl on the outside. Triple H pulls the steel steps out, and this is the big one. Batista slingshots Triple H into the post, and immediately Hunter blades, and it's like all over his face. And I'm like, you're putting Batista over like a killer now, aren't you?
He really did.
Because Batista did not drop 1 ounce of blood in this thing. Not one.
No.
Hunter did all the bleeding for him. And say what you want about Triple H and his reign of terror, but if he wants to put you over, he will do everything he can to put you over. You know,
I will say the crowd was pretty quiet for this match, but I still think it was very good. Like, this is one of the better WrestleMania main events, like, of the decade.
Yeah, I mean, when you compare it to other ones, I mean, I'm just trying to think off the top of my head. I feel like this match was better than Hunter and Jericho. Not better than Kurt and Brock by a stretch. No way. No way it was better than the triple threat. I'm trying to think what else. Oh, way better than the 4-way from Mania 2000. Way better than that one.
And you look at future main events, I think it's on the same level of Cena and Triple H.
Yeah, I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but
yeah, for sure. But
yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but this is, I mean, it's solid. It's solid for the most part.
Yes,
definitely. For what they were trying to get across, get Batista over as a killer and give him a decisive victory over an established main event level player. These guys probably went a little bit too long to get that point across, but this is Triple H after all. This is Triple H at WrestleMania. You got to give him at least 20 minutes to work. So
yeah, I like this match.
No, I did too.
Almost
I did too. I'm just pointing out, my little nitpicky flaws with it. I feel like it might have gone a little bit too long for what it was trying to do.
It's not the best match in the world, but
no.
I think it's also at the same time, it's a match I have a lot of memories with.
Mm-hmm.
Things like, what match I think is overrated?
Which one?
Hogan Warrior.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at who's working in that match and what they would put together in the future after that, like, definitely, I see what you're saying. Yeah, Hogan and Warrior, I mean, that one I feel like is good mainly for the attraction level. Like, the two biggest dudes in the Federation going at it. Like,
also, Warrior going over Hogan, nobody saw that coming.
I mean, yeah, that match is another one that I feel like could have gone either way. But if I was watching that, if I saw Warrior beat Hogan, it probably wouldn't have been too much of a surprise because Hogan was starting to wind down even in the 90s. He was, working as hard as he had ever did in the 80s, and Warrior comes in. Maybe he's the new guy to carry the banner into the 90s, but I don't know. Batista goes in there, and Triple H tries to hit Batista with a pedigree. And Batista with the most innovative finisher I've still ever seen out of a pedigree. He has his arms up like this, like he usually would in the pedigree. This is a weird, awkward position to show this. But Batista is like, nice. Batista is like, moving his arms. I almost said thrusting his arms. He's moving his arms out like this. And Triple H is like, Batista's so strong. He's breaking my grip. And sure enough, that's what he did. Batista goes up and he hits Triple H with a white noise to break the pedigree. Like, yeah. No, there's some trivia for you. Batista hit a white noise in the WrestleMania main event. One of Sheamus's moves.
He invented that, Matt. He invented that move.
He invented the white noise. Sheamus has Batista to thank for that. So, he pretty much... it's pretty cut and dry finish here. He hits Triple H with a spine buster, nails him with the biggest Batista bomb of his life and probably the stiffest Batista bomb of his life at this point. And that's your second coronation of 2. Like, second match in a row. You have a member of the OVW class of 2002 winning a world title. Like, unheard of.
It really is. This WrestleMania is so good, and I think it's just so important because of that. Because I don't think Batista gets enough credit for what he does in his career, but this really is the new Hogan and Warrior of this generation, the two biggest stars. And you're going to see as we go farther along in the timeline here, how it really was a torch passing to these two guys. They tried to pass the torch to Eddie and Benoit the year prior, but it didn't really work out for a lot of reasons. But this was Vince found his new two guys. Probably the two biggest stars and I'm not comparing them to these two, so everybody chill out before you freak out. His two biggest stars since Rock and Austin.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying there. But Rock and Austin were big stars for different reasons. Austin wasn't really like...
That's why Cena and Batista are big stars for different reasons.
Cena and Batista are big stars because Vince found their muscles really cool. Muscle. That's what it is.
Cena and Batista are also very good workers.
Yeah, no, they are. Batista is definitely not the Bagreensta that we've been calling him over the past couple of years on the retrospective.
He only gets better. He only gets better from here on out.
One of his better matches. I wouldn't say this is his best match with Triple H, even in this feud. That will come at Vengeance, and we'll get to that one.
Yeah, because this feud isn't over yet, but this is the coronation of Batista.
Far from it.
Guys, the Reign of Terror is almost over. Almost.
So
because
close.
We need to get to the epilogue first. We're
So
almost
close.
there, because the Reign of Terror for me isn't just Triple H.
But, yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying. Triple H would not touch a world championship again until 2007. So...
Yes. But even then, he would only hold that championship for, a couple hours? And then he wouldn't get a healthy championship run until 2008.
Yeah, so we got a nice reprieve from Triple H at the top. So, hope you enjoyed the Reign of Terror while you could. Yeah, and I hope you enjoyed that Reign of Terror while you did. We sure as hell did. We enjoyed talking about it. We did it.
Why did this all thing happen, and why are we doing this podcast to begin with?
Because Triple H lost to Hulk Hogan at Backlash.
Yeah.
Obviously that's not why we're doing this retro podcast. We started off, as wrestling fans both in 2002, and we felt like, if we're doing retro pods, if we're going in order, 2002 is the logical place for us to start because that's when we were, fans first. But this was a humongous monumental turn for me as a fan, seeing both Cena and Batista at the top. And this is something that we would both have to get used to. Cena and Batista were not going to go anywhere anytime soon. They would be in the main event frequently on every Witch show.
I was 11 years old when this happened, and I had no problem whatsoever seeing with Cena. If I was 21 years old when this happened, I'd be a little upset, probably. But as a kid, this is my Hogan and Warrior area. Cena and Batista would go on to be my two favorite wrestlers as a kid. Like, The Rock was gone. Shawn Michaels was always going to be there. Shawn Michaels was always going to be my favorite. But Cena and Batista became my guys after this. And my parents knew how much I loved Cena, and they knew how much I loved Batista.
Yeah, both of them are great. You loved Batista because he beat up Triple H, so...
Yeah, but then it was just something. Batista just grew on me as a performer. He just there was just something about him that was just so, I don't know what it was. I had a special connection with Batista.
And we'll be talking about him a lot more, but they got the Evolution Implosion right the second time around. Yeah. They got it. And the thumbs down thing would become Batista's staple anytime before he would hit the Batista bomb. Similar to what Drew McIntyre is doing right now with the countdown before the Claymore. Batista would do the thumbs down that he did to Triple H, and this is a perfect case of what goes around comes around. Because how did this Evolution Implosion start? Randy Orton wins the world title at SummerSlam, yes, and Triple H is the one to give him the thumbs down initially. So Batista turns that right around on him. It's brilliant storytelling. This WrestleMania, man. WrestleMania 21. Love it to no end. I'm giving this show a 9 out of 10. I love this show. I was
going to say, this might be a little bold, but it's one of the most... I have such good memories with this WrestleMania, and top to bottom, barring the women's title match, barring the sumo match, even though the WWE Championship match was pretty bad, I still have very good memories with it, watching it with my family and getting excited watching Cena, and then the coronation of Batista. Just such good memories with this one.
Well, and you also, in my case, have 2 5-star matches on the undercard. This is arguably the best undercard in WrestleMania history with the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. Taker versus Orton was a great match. Eddie and Ray had a solid opener. And Angle and Shawn giving you one of the greatest wrestling matches, I think, in history. So there's a lot to love with this show. It will always hold a special place in my heart.
Right.
Easily in my top 10 Manias for sure, if not top 5. If I'm really thinking about it. it's up there with the best of them, man. It really is.
Yeah, and I've never compiled that list, but there's going to be some bias in my list. This past year's WrestleMania because we were at it, Mania 31 because I was at it, but definitely this one, and 18 because that was the first Mania I ever saw. 19 because that's the first one I ever saw live. I think it's all about perception and
yeah,
memories.
Totally, a lot of great memories with this show. And next up on this retrospective. Not a lot of great memories with Backlash, with Batista versus Triple H in the rematch headlining it. The true definition of a WrestleMania Backlash. You also have a couple of other fun topics that we can discuss there. And we got AEW at Wembley Stadium next weekend, and I can't wait to check out the lack of build that card has had, except for the main event.
All in and all out, 2 weekends in a row. So I hope you're all in, and I hope you're ready to go all out with us. And we also have WWE Payback coming up, which are there any matches announced for that card?
Still no matches. I believe Becky Lynch versus Trish Stratus inside the steel cage is happening on that show, but I could be very wrong. That could be a Raw match.
I hope so, because I'm tired of them just throwing them on Raw.
Yeah. But guys, hit that subscribe button if you're new. Tap on that thumbs up as well. Let's continue to grow this awesome community out here. Y'all are the best. Thank you so much again for tuning in. And let us know what you thought of WrestleMania 21 down in the comments. Is Angle versus Shawn your favorite WrestleMania match ever? Let us know. Is there a different one? It's a fucking great match is what it is. It's not just a good match. But yeah. Talk to you guys later and see you guys next time.